feel very much a sense of optimism today, knowing it's really about the future and the incredible youth that we have.
Tonight, Nunavut is celebrating a major milestone while acknowledging there are still growing pains to address.
Our communities are remote northern communities who remain in crisis.
1 year after 11 First Nations declared a state of emergency, leadership says little has changed.
I'm first generation out of a devastating relocation where 1/3 of the members of my nation died as a result of a disconnect from the land.
And a new film about the efforts of 4 First Nations to protect a watershed in northern Manitoba premieres. Good evening, I'm Savannah Kelly. Welcome to APTN National News. The Native Women's Association of Canada is in a bit of turmoil after laying off half of its staff last week. The organization blames the layoffs on government funding cuts, but there are also allegations of a hostile workplace and employees being punished for seeking protection through a unionization drive. APTN's Fraser Needham reports.
NWAC CEO Lynn Grew says the organization had no choice but to let go 75 employees, facing a federal government funding cut of $38 million, meaning its budget is going from $48 million to $10 million.
There are decisions that are made by the government to either not renew funding or cut funding, and that decision this year has been very significant for NWAC, much more than previous years.
But a CBC article reports there are other reasons behind the staffing cuts. Unnamed sources make allegations of a hostile work environment and employees fired for starting a union drive. Crystal Samaginis worked for NWAC from 2021 to 2023 and says she is not surprised by the allegations.
Well, the Native Women's Association of Canada is not an Indigenous-led organization. I have been to the headquarters at NWAC several times over the last few years. And what I noticed is that there's very few Indigenous women actually on staff. And I just felt that there was a lot of colonial violence happening within my employment and within, my regular, expectations of being an employee.
Samaginis also says an elaborate new headquarters across the river from Ottawa in Gatineau, Quebec, and a new healing lodge in Chelsea, Quebec, send the wrong message to Indigenous women who are struggling just to make ends meet.
I have been allowed supervised visits to the mansion in the Gatineau Hills. It is over the top, very elaborate with an indoor pool, very, very, 5-star kind of facility, very expensive.
Ellen Gabriel is a former president of Quebec Native Women. She says it appears NWAC has lost its way.
I think more than anything, it makes me feel sad because, the women who started the Indigenous women's rights movement, like Mary 2X Early and all those women, they've really fought hard to get equality of rights for Indigenous women, as under the Indian Act.
Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
We want to hear what you think about the current turmoil at the Native Women's Association of Canada or any other stories you see here tonight. Here's how to continue the conversation. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, go to aptnnews.ca. You can find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Today's carbon tax hike means Canadians are digging deeper into their pockets to pay for gasoline and home heating fuel such as natural gas, a move the Prime Minister is defending as needed to fight climate change.
We are effective in putting a price on pollution that is driving down emissions and leading the way not just in protecting the environment for the future, but on sparking the kinds of innovation and upgrades that companies and individuals are doing to their homes, to their businesses, so that we can be both better for the environment and more competitive.
Trudeau says rebates are also going up. 7 premiers oppose the move, saying a few $100s more won't come close to paying for home upgrades that would be needed to pay less tax. The Keewatin Tribal Council plans to pursue a self-government agreement. On Thursday, chiefs from the 11 tribal council bands signed a declaration to begin negotiations towards self-government. Grand Chief Walter Wastesicoot says governments have failed to serve people in those 11 communities. Last March, the Tribal Council declared a regional state of emergency due to a public safety issue, poor health care, and inadequate infrastructure. They urge both the federal and provincial governments to provide immediate support. Grand Chief Wastesicoot has said little has changed in the years since.
Our communities are remote northern communities who remain in crisis, plagued by an opioid epidemic, chronic underfunding of healthcare services, and inadequate infrastructure. Every week, we are forced to bury our people who have died due to suicide, violence, inadequate medical services, drug overdose, complications from diabetes, and other entirely preventable circumstances under a discriminatory system.
Nunavut turns 25 today as the Governor General flew up to Nunavut to take part in the celebrations. Trevor Wright has more.
This week, 25 years ago in 1999, the Nunavut Act was passed in Ottawa and separated from the Northwest Territories. For many Inuit, reaching this point is an accomplishment all on its own.
Who wants cake? And so we are hitting a major milestone of the 25 years today. You can see the huge advancements we've been able to make, but also obviously the challenges we see. And I am very confident that we will continue to deal with the issues head on. And I feel very much a sense of optimism today, knowing it's really about the future and the incredible youth that we have that are continuing to push so hard for the original vision of what Nunavut was to become.
Governor General Mary Simon visited Iqaluit as part of the Nunavut 25 celebration. While this is indeed a milestone, Premier Atikamekw says there are still many challenges ahead, the biggest of which is Nunavut's housing crisis.
Things do take time. We've been tackling the lack of housing, the crisis we've seen for decades. So we've been working extremely hard to tackle that head on, and we have been making some huge investments, historic investments, to tackle those issues, because we know at the root of the challenges we see the social determinants, the health determinants, the education outcome lie with the lack of housing. So housing has been one where we really have been putting a lot of our investments.
In spite of this, the Premier says Nunavut's future is bright, with the signing of the Nunavut Devolution Agreement being just one example of the territory moving forward. Trevor Wright, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
We need to step aside for a quick break. Coming up, we'll tell you about a polar bear that came too close to home for Piawanak First Nation. Plus, an urban on-the-land healing camp is celebrating a huge milestone.
This person healed, they'll bring the knowledge and teachings that we've been handing on, more ripples, more healing.
Welcome back to APTN National News. An urban on-the-land healing camp is celebrating a huge milestone. Now the Arctic Indigenous Wellness Foundation is setting their sights even higher. Our reporter Charlotte Morit-Jacobs brings you that story.
In the peace and quiet of the bush, healing happens. This spring, the Arctic Indigenous Wellness Foundation is celebrating 7 years in operation. And since opening, this camp has been helping Métis, Inuit, and Dene people from remote communities across the 3 territories. Leanne Joss is a traditional counselor from Ulaktuk. She sees the client's healing journey as a drop of water in a lake.
The more we heal from in here, I feel like those ripples get bigger, and it has ripple effects on other people. This person healed, they'll bring the knowledge and teachings that we've been handing on. More ripples, more healing. And for our camp to grow, that would be amazing, because right now it's my sister Ruth and I as the 2 traditional counselors, and if we can get more counselors, more maintenance, more office work, I feel like we could thrive. And
clients fly in for 1 or 2 weeks to work through trauma, addictions, homelessness, and mental health. The camp also offers drop-in hours 3 days a week.
I think families come in, like the parents and then the younger ones, and they do their one-on-ones, and then they'll come together and they get to hear one another and have someone, do you hear what your son is saying? Or do you hear what your dad is saying? Your mom, your daughter.
From humble beginnings, the Urban on the Land program located in Yellowknife has expanded significantly. Executive Director Bala Tiripathy says the foundation is currently completing a feasibility study for a new wellness center where clients would stay overnight.
We need some infrastructure in order to provide more and more services. As you've seen, it's growing because there are days that there are 10 to 15 clients also in a day. So it's like pretty challenging for us to facilitate services to them.
It's really a nice feeling to watch our people just switch right in front of you.
Dene Métis counselor Ruth Mercury has been here since the beginning in 2017.
The wellness center is going out behind the hospital, and it's going to be a real place where all peoples, we're going to have alternative medicines, and we're going to have also lots of spiritual activities there, like sweat lodges and things like that elders are going to, so it's going to be really unique and different.
The foundation is hoping to meet with the Premier and solidify more funding partnerships for the new center. Charlotte Morit-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
In Northern Ontario, a polar bear came too close to home for Piawanik First Nation. Located 30 kilometers south of Hudson's Bay, the community is used to seeing polar bears in the summer, but they've started showing up earlier the past few years. The large carnivorous creature was stalking children for its next meal, but will now feed the people it hunted instead. Paw prints were found in the First Nations schoolyard. Its den was found in a wooded area not far away. Anishinaabe Police Service learned from wildlife experts that the bear was treating the area as its hunting ground. A planned community scavenger hunt would have sent children towards its home. After consulting community elders, NAPS decided to kill the bear for the safety of its citizens. A prayer ceremony was held, and the polar bear's meat will now be used to feed community members. Its pelt and other bear offerings will be used in traditional crafts and ceremonies. The Anishinaabe Police Service says they make every effort to preserve wildlife and only kill animals who become an imminent threat to community safety. A new feature film about a 1977 crash that claimed the lives of 5 people from the Atikamekw Nation will be in Quebec theaters on April 5th. Atikamekw Sons is by Quebec filmmaker Chloe Lariche and includes performances by Atikamekw actors like Jacques Nouachiche. Maricela Amador recently caught up with the cast in Montreal.
Te connais-tu ou te connais pas?
In the summer of 1977, 5 Atikamekw from the community of Manawan drowned when a van slid off the road into a nearby river. 2 non-Indigenous men, the driver and his friend, both survived. Local authorities declared the crash an accident. But for many of the victims' families, many questions remain unanswered about how they died.
C'est un film qui parle de racisme, mais surtout de racisme systémique. Et je trouve que les Autochtones au Canada vivent énormément d'injustices à plusieurs niveaux. Et écoute, j'aurais pas passé 8 ans de ma vie si je trouvais pas ça extrêmement important.
Filmmaker Chloé Leriche directed, wrote, and produced the new film, Atikamekw Sons. She recounted that she first learned about the tragedy in 2014 from the sister of one of the victims. The filmmaker said that through this story, she was able to understand a part of the Atikamekw history.
That's big stuff!
Actress Lise Yolande Awashish is Atikamekw from the community of Obidjwan. She portrayed Lucie Petitquet, a mother who lost her son in the crash and subsequently experienced profound emotional distress and inner turmoil. Awashish noted that it was a very difficult role to play.
Ce film-là, pour moi, c'est une voix pour les communautés autochtones, pour les autochtones, parce que le racisme, ça date pas d'hier. On est en 2024, puis c'est toujours présent encore aujourd'hui.
The Atikamekw language is featured prominently in the film. Jacques Newashish is an established actor and multidisciplinary artist from Wimontashi. He plays the role of David Marcel Ottawa, an Atikamekw interpreter who works in the courthouse.
J'ai connu la personne que j'ai interprétée, David Marcel Ottawa. C'est une personne qui m'a toujours marqué par sa présence, mais aussi le fait qu'il soit là pour les autres.
Since it premiered on the film festival circuit in October of 2023, Atikamekw Sons has won several awards.
Je souhaite qu'on répare nos relations entre allochtones, autochtones au Canada. Je souhaite qu'il y ait comme des choses qui se passent puis qu'on passe à l'action.
The filmmaker added that she hopes audiences will connect with the story and history of the Atikamekw Nation. Maricela Amador, APTN National News, Montreal.
4 small ice rinks faced off to become the next Craft Hockeyville winner. We'll tell you after the break about the winner. Plus, a film about 4 First Nations who formed an alliance to protect a watershed for future generations.
For the world to know that as Indigenous people, the land and the waters are sacred.
Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Happy Easter from adorable Adeline. Thanks to Kelsey Weber for sharing this special moment as Adeline enjoys some equally sweet chocolate. If you have a picture to share, send those photos to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting off on the East Coast, 8 degrees and sunshine in Halifax, +9 in Fredericton. Kuujjuaq -3 and snow, Nain +2. Quebec City 5 degrees and sunshine, Montreal +10. Sarnia rainy and 9 degrees, North Bay sunshine and +9. Kapuskasing sunshine and 7 degrees, Sioux Lookout snowy +5. Churchill 0 degrees, mix of sun and cloud, Norway House +5. Dauphin sunshine and 4 degrees, snowy and 3 degrees in Gimli. Regina 11 degrees and sunshine, North Battleford rainy and +13. Stony Rapids rainy and 8 degrees and La Ronge +6. 17 degrees and rain for Peace River and Grand Prairie. 16 and sunshine for Calgary, +21 for Edmonton. Kamloops +21 and sunshine there, rainy and +14 for Vancouver. Rainy and 10 degrees in Fort Nelson, Smithers rainy and +8. Mayo snowy 3 degrees, Whitehorse sunshine and +3. Wrigley snowy and +1 there, Yellowknife 0 degrees. Paulatuck snowy and -15, Sax Harbor -20. Baker Lake snowy and -7, Chesterfield sunshine -11. Igloolik snowy and -10 and Iqaluit -3. A film about the creation of the Seal River Watershed Alliance premiered in Winnipeg on Wednesday. APTN Sierra Bettens has more on that story.
A chorus of drums ushered in the world premiere of the film We Are Made from the Land at the Winnipeg Art Gallery. The film tells the story of the creation of the Seal River Watershed Alliance. Back in 2019, 4 First Nations formed the alliance to protect the area for future generations. This included the Sayese Dene, Northlands Denisulene, and the Barren Lands and Opipinapiwan Cree Nations. Opipinapiwan Chief, Shirley Ducharme, says the film's release is historic.
For the world to know that as Indigenous people, the land and the waters are sacred. And that's how we brought this forth, thinking about our ancestors and how we wanted to preserve our culture through these lands and the waters. And this is how, it came to be.
In January, the Alliance signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the Government of Canada to conduct a feasibility study on establishing an Indigenous protected and conserved area in the watershed. The study is expected to take 2 years to complete. Stephanie Thorossi, Executive Director of the Seal River Watershed Alliance, starred in and produced the film. Her parents were among the Sayese Dene forced to relocate from their territories to the outskirts of Churchill, Manitoba in 1956. She says the protected designation would prevent future displacement from the land.
I'm first generation out of a devastating relocation where 1/3 of the members of my nation died as a result of a disconnect from the land. And so therefore we know from personal experience that this is not something we can have happen to our people again.
Much of the film focused on the importance of passing on land-based knowledge to future generations. Youth Land Guardian Trevin Baker from Opipinapiwan Cree Nation is among those taking the lead.
I helped get declaration feedback for the IPCA, the Indigenous Protected and Conserved Area of the Seal River Watershed Alliance. And I do a bunch of training too, like get my first aid certificate, my wilderness and all that helps me help the youth.
Thorossi says others may support the project by signing the Seal River Watershed Alliance's open letter. The film can be viewed online for free. Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
4 small ice rinks from across Canada faced off to become the next Craft Hockeyville winner. This weekend, 1 rink came out on top. Our reporter Rachel May has more on who won.
Congratulations to Elliott Lake, Ontario.
Elliott Lake, Ontario is the winner of Craft Hockeyville 2024. It will receive $250,000 in rink upgrades. That money will go towards reopening their rink, which closed down in September 2023 due to wooden beams wearing out after 55 years of use. They will also have the opportunity to host a preseason NHL game. The other 3 finalists include Enderby, British Columbia, Cochrane, Alberta, and Wolseley, Saskatchewan. Each runner-up will receive $25,000 towards rink upgrades. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Congrats to Elliott Lake on that win. And that's all the time we have here for APTN National News this Monday. For news anytime, head on over to our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Savannah Kelly. Marcy, Miigwech, thank you for joining us. Take care and have a great night.